Thanks for staying with us on Global Television this beautiful morning. It is Thursday, the 13th day of February 2025. And of course, we told you on return from the AM News it's going to be time for the first discussion. Apologies for our inability to bring you a full-fledged news due to some technical issues, but then we're working seriously to serve you better. And now we are back for the first conversation, as I already have my guest seated in the studio. The first question my guest asked me this morning is, which of the states do you belong? And I need to think for a while before I actually come down to terms of what he meant. Today we want to look at the creation of additional states. And as a matter of fact, subnational governance, creation of more states is our focus this morning. And joining me on the conversation is, of course, a political analyst and a development expert in the person of Dr. Aliu Ilyas. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
You know, that question you asked me, first of all, it almost threw me off balance, because I was thinking, this my boss, he knows I'm from Benue State, so why is he asking? Until I came back to terms, I realized, oh, I'm from Apa State. Well, we're looking at the creation of additional states. There's been a proposal already for the creation of additional 30 to 31 states in Nigeria, additional to the 36 that we have already, and we want to look at the possibility of having that state. First of all, what came to your mind when you saw that proposal?
Right. First and foremost, when I saw 31, I saw impossibility. And why do I say it's impossibility? You know, this is democracy. It's not like military government where states are created by fiat. So the president or the head of state then will just go to the podium and say, today I declare so and so state. But this one called for agitation. But democracy also given for such thing, whereby that's what we call politics. So everybody is politicking, looking for what will be advantageous to them. So as it were, definitely some people are disadvantaged as the states are now. So a good example is even from Benue. We have recalled that it's on one part of the state that is always dominating becoming the governor. It doesn't happen in Kogi until Providence turn it the other way around. And you also see that a place like Oyo State, the entire southeast, the entire eastern part of Nigeria only is 100 kilometers in terms of landmass to hedge the whole of your state. And Oyo is one state. We have 5 states in the southeast. So these are the things that we need to look at. So they feel that they have been marginalized, and that's why they are agitating. But the cause of agitating, other that does not even need it, so look at River State and Akwa Ibom. They are looking at Obolo State within them again. So it's funny, but that's how politics give room for. But I will have 31 additional states. It's not possible in Nigeria.
Okay, it's not possible in Nigeria, but then you're talking about marginalization right now.
Right.
If there should be creation of states at all, don't you think you are the one talking about marginalization now?
Right.
And the other people will also tell you they need it, even when they don't need it. But then, do you see the possibility of creating or maybe compensating the people who are marginalized with creation of states? Are you totally not in support of state creation, or you are not in support of creating up to 31?
Right, I'm not in support of creating up to 31. Now, creation of states is becoming a necessity for Nigerians. And if we want to create states, we have 2 problems that we need to look at. First and foremost, the most determining factor for creating states is population. You must have certain numbers, just like the government is. You must have a certain number, before you can have a state. If we could go back to our census, I think we are going to have a this year. We wouldn't know yet.
Just like what you keep saying,
if we have that push for it, but if we have that census, it will tell us that, okay, anywhere you have 2.5 million people, there should be a state. That will now disrespect your tribe, your language. And this is another problem. You could see some people that are together, but they are not from the same, like example of Kogi State, example of Benue, people are from different tribes. In fact, within one local government, there is 2 language. So you have to start factoring that if it's population which I think is the best population, because Population will determine how many hospitals we need, how many education, how many infrastructure. You know, it will give a lot of sense. So for me, it's good to have addition, especially for a state like Oyo State, whereby it's very, very large and people are actually not being captured to an extent. Now when you look at Oyo, look at other states too, I wouldn't say it's only Oyo, but I see that much more up. And you could see that Oyo is even proposing about 2 states, unlike others that are even proposing 3, 4, that they are not even up to that state. They are only proposing Ibadan State and Okeogun Ijesha State. That's what they are looking at. But for me, I have to push for what is advanced, and particularly also it has a political undertone. So by the time we have conference states in my own state, I cannot agitate better to become something. It's maybe it's much smaller, and I can have that power, and that's how politicians are actually thinking. Let us have it small so that we can have the power as expected.
All right, the dominating spirit of politicians is what Doctor is talking about right here. Now let's look at it now from the political aspect of it. Since you've gotten that lane, you've got into that lane already. Some persons were of the school of thought that will bring more developments to Nigeria, because by the time you have people in maybe a very few kilometers together, you know what their problems are, their locations coming from the federal government, especially now that we have the local government autonomy. It's going to go a long way helping the states, the council develop. What do you think about that? Don't you think this will bring development?
Well, definitely it will bring development, but it has to go with a rearrangement. By the time you want to bring more states, that means you have to reorganize other states because of the population wise. So the more we have population to manage, the more we can be. But I think Nigeria is sounding disjointed somehow. I mean, Nigerian government, so to say. We are looking for what do we call it now? Development. This regional development that we're just creating.
Yes.
We are looking at that.
Central Development Commission. Southeast.
We're looking at that. For me, it's a negative, it's a no-no for me, because it may lead to secession and to lead to more agitation politically. That was geopolitical agitation. Now we are looking at states now too. So it simply means that a place like Southeast that has only 5, we'll be looking at where some people have 7, some people have 6. Why not us also have the same equal state? Meanwhile, the population is not equal. Do you see the gap now? So for me, it will bring development. That means we have to rearrange and make sure we work with population.
Okay, we have to rearrange and work with the population. But right now, one thing about the creation of the states, some Nigerians are saying, well, if these states are created, number one, we are going to have a lot of people go into politics, and because of the unemployment that we have in Nigeria, you see, like I just saw yesterday, someone wrote something on social media, and what I saw on that was media aid to the local government council chairman. You know, that's an employment. Don't you think this will create employment and handle the unemployment situation that we have in the country? Because we're going to have governors emerge. We are going to have National Assembly members, senators from the various senatorial districts of the newly created states. The same so also we are going to have governors, House of Assembly members, and this is an opportunity for people to actually partake in their own, I don't want to say have a share in governance, but then don't you think that will curb unemployment, or it's going to increase?
So if we are creating unemployment, that should not be the way to create unemployment, because ideally governance should supposed to be a part-time service for people. I also have a friend who's an SA Health to a local government chairman. I'm sure they must have created a salary and pathway for him to also survive. However, it's wrong for us to take politics as a major source of income. In some other climes, National Assembly people are actually part-time. They don't say you want to do it fully. It is the way that somebody will say, my job is I'm a politician. You know, I was there and somebody was introducing himself, said I'm a politician. And I'll say, how do you are a politician? I don't know how politician has become a profession. It's a service that you are supposed to render to your community, to your state, you know, to your country, and it's for a time frame when you have other things to do, you know, just like our present president now, you know, he was working Shell, you know, he was, you know, just like also our vice president, he worked in a bank before, you know, the senate president, you see all of them are, so you shouldn't say that when you wake up in the morning your business is just politics.
But that's not what the youth of these days
I agree, because that's a way out for youth, and we have seen people that actually survive it. I've seen many people, I can mention 3 of them. They actually were student union in school. From school they come to state assembly. I think Amechi from that become governor, from that become minister. It also happened to Dino Melaya. From student union they become in politics. So even Showore was also, you know, saying that he's now a journalist. So we have a lot of people like that who have that pathway. But if you look at it, they are student union. So we also expect that you should have a livelihood. So if we all looking at politics, that space will not take all of us, and Nigeria will not have what we call GDP. It's only the political GDP that we are going to be looking at. So I think we should all have something doing while we do service to our country.
All right, while we do service to our country, we should also have something we are doing. That we made a selling point right now when we're talking about the fact that politics should not be looked at as a career, as a profession, but then should just be looked at as a part-time thing. This is, well, you know what we're doing now, we're educating Nigeria, because a lot of people, if you don't be surprised that during how do we call it in nursery school, in schools, career day, what do you want to become? So we tell you how elected by Nigerian politicians has made it look so, all right, as if politics is a career as it is right now. Is there anything you think can be done to make people believe this is a part-time something and a temporary something that you can do, go back to whatever it is you were doing before, maybe a business, then maybe you contest again. But now they come in there and they want to stay there forever in front of a profession. Is there anything that can be done to correct this impression so that our teeming youth will know that that is not the only way to go and that it is not a profession?
Right, clearly it is not a profession. So and the fact is that we must discourage the benefits therein. I think that's what's causing the problem. When you get to politics, you believe that you have all what you want. You get the money, you get the contract, you get the opportunity, and you know you think that's the only way. But we must discourage even a national assembly. I wonder why we have to bicameral system with paraphernalia of the local government chairman also have all the paraphernalia. The councillor also will have all the paraphernalia, and where is this money going? It's going to their pocket. So we should look at it and say that yes, there's need for to do, and also look at the minister. I think we don't have the highest minister in Nigerian record. Right, so that's another area that we need to look at. There's a ministry that we all can also bring together, and that's why I told people that Orosai reports can never come to limelight, because you remember Orosai said we should reduce our MDs. You recall, as I always said, so we have maybe 350 MDs. Now we have over 1,000 MDs, and all these MDs, all these DG, they have their SA, they have their assistants, and we have created that how do I call it? We have that big space for political players that everybody is thinking. But I know someday people like you who have actually worked in your career exceedingly well should be recognized and say, okay, you have worked well, you've seen that you serve the country, come and represent. And the way you offer service is different from someone who just think it's an opportunity for me to actually do. Perhaps if there is no, we have seen people let me even use journalists who have actually go for service. After the service, they return to their job. We have seen lecturers who actually go to serve, and after the service, they go back to their classroom. That is how politics should be, whereby you are called from where you actually work. You know, you move to serve the people, and by the time your tenure ends, you come back. Not that you keep on staying there. In fact, it's happening to retire. People that retire refuse to leave. I saw someone in the Nigerian police. The guy refused to leave office after he has retired. They start announcing, we have been waiting for today, and you have gone. We are not one of us again. Can you please leave? When you are there, you did not serve us well, and that's how politics should also be. When you don't serve people well, after you leave, please go and stay in your profession, not staying put there. I think we should reorientate people that politics should be service to humanity and service to your country.
All right, politics should be service to humanity and service to the country, and of course, the consciousness and the mentality that leadership is servanthood. That's what the Nigerian politicians should imbibe. But now, let's come to think about it. What was in the mind? What do you think is in the mind of the people who have proposed this number of states? Is there anything they are looking at, or what do you think could be in their mind or may have instigated this? As a matter of fact, we're just trying to think ahead now.
Well, in their mind, I think it's positive. They think they also deserve to be recognized as a state. They think their benefits will be more. They also think that at least we have been sidelined, because if you look at most people that are actually agitating, they know people at the center. People that are becoming governor in a particular state, in the particular local government that are taking advantage of the state. We never go and say we should want another state, but people that have been marginalized, so to say, and that's why we must look at our politics very well. We must make sure that we do that representation as it's supposed to be, and that's why some people talk about rotational government, whereby if this particular senatorial area produce governor this time, we shift it to another, but whereby one senatorial is dominating in producing the governor every time, other people will agitate. A good example of people in Benin, good example of people in Kogi, in other places, they think development should come to them. I think it is lack of development, equal development, that made people to say yes, we actually want a state, and it's a good one they're asking for. So let's take it to the National Assembly as it is there now. Let us get it debated. On what premise should we have new states? And I knew that would bring about reorganizing the state. If we are going to add even 5 states, the other states have to readjust. And when they readjust, what happens? That means people that are taking advantage might become a disadvantage people. Just like what happened in Kogi. The Galas are in Benin before. When they are in Benin, they are minority. By the time they come to Kogi State, they become majority. You see, and those people that I think they are part of it before, they become minority. So, and that's the challenge there that we must be sensitive about. I remember, this is politics. This is democracy. It's not like military, where head of state will say, this is how I want it, and nobody question it. But here, a lot of court, a lot of issues, a lot of debates. In fact, the way to even ratify such is a process on its own. It has to do with local government, state, and national assembly. What the National Assembly only can do, it has to go around. But for me, if you ask me, I think this constitutional review, if they want it to work, they should remove this one from there first. If not, this will take it, and even this 10th assembly cannot achieve it.
This 10th assembly cannot really achieve it. But then, as a matter of fact, we're talking about cost of governance here. Looking at the challenges that the economy is facing right now, Nigeria is going through so much. I believe you must have heard of telco tariff hike.
Yeah.
The bank charges, the ATM bank charges, and all of that.
Let me tell you, even the port hike, Port Authority, and FOB hike. So there's a lot of, I think this government is bent on making him more money. So I don't know how they are going to tax people more.
But the fact that this thing is coming from Nigerians who are crying, is something. But then I'm trying to go towards something that is the cost of governance. There's been an agitation for cutting down cost of governance. How well are the states right now doing that? We're even talking about the creation of other states, talking about cutting down cost of governance right now. Is it even possible to cut down cost of governance in Nigeria the way things are?
Instead of us to cut, we're having bloated governance system. If you look at, have you seen those governors passing? You see a lot of convoy that follows them. I think Tinubu has been able to cut them to 4 in Abuja. I was so happy. I've seen like 4 or 5 ministers, only 4 vehicles. And I was so it's possible. So I think those governors, they need to start with those governors. Remember, governor will buy his own plenty of jeep. The commissioner will buy, the SA will buy, the DG will buy, a lot of people will buy. So until we cut the bloated system, that's when we can actually achieve a meaningful government system. I think the cost of governance, if you look at it, take a whole lot from Nigeria as a country, and that's where you need to work more to make sure that we reduce the cost of governance. If we don't reduce the cost of governance, there will not be development. Because, and how do we cut the cost of governance? Have you seen a local government chairman who has about 120 SA? Have you seen it? Then we have a lot of governors who have about 1,100 people working appointed as SC this, SC that, SC grassroots, SC this, SC economy, SC agriculture, like that. So such bloated governance or such bloated governments always use government money, to give those people sort of using it to develop the state, and that's why some states are finding it difficult. In fact, what painful most is that states that are really struggling to really survive are the ones doing it the more.
All right, well, the conversation is around the creation of additional states. We already have 36 states, and there is a proposal for the creation of more 30 to 31 states, where one state will be having additional 3 states, some 2 states, some 1 states, as the case may be. But my guests have been able to establish the fact that that's not exactly what Nigerians need right now. But now, finally, before I let you go, is it possible, all right, is it possible to have one state from because as a matter of fact, every state that feel they are being challenged right now, because some feel they are being marginalized and all of that, almost every state in Nigeria you see a minority. These ones are majority, these ones are minority, these ones are always having upper hand and all of that. Is there any way that issue can be handled so that the issue of we are being marginalized, we need our own state, even though the economy is so challenging that if they create these states, they may not be funded appropriately, and I don't know what may happen. We're talking about this. Remember, we're having security in the land, and what's give birth to all of this agitation, of course, like you made mention when we were talking the first time. So what do you think about this? What can really be done to make sure there is equality in all the states? This marginalization of a thing shouldn't be there.
Now, the painful thing is that politics becloud objectivity. So once people are in politics, they believe that everything should come to them. And that's the major point, and that's why we must be objective in this case. So we are going to look at, like I said, the best way to look at is to look at population, even not land mass, because there could be land mass and there's no people in the land. So we must look at population. So because it is on the basis of population you can create health services, education, university, infrastructure, recreation. That's what we must look at. Because if we don't look at that, people that do not deserve it will have it. For instance, when we look at population, another dilemma we are going to have is that what do we do to a place like Lagos, who have 20 million Nigerians, but the state is very, very small, able to cut them out to another state. And that's why we must look at it critically, holistically, and look at how do we do that. Because there's another argument now that if you look at Southeast have only 5 states. And they are region on their own too. So they say, okay, if Northwest can have 7 states, why Southeast not have it? But the Southeast have the same population and land mass with Northwest. These are the questions we must ask ourselves. So we must come with objective mind in our argument. That's not what is happening now. Because Northeast have development commission. Is that not what Southeast is now having? Northwest is having, everybody is now having. Central, so everybody is now having, and the major aim is Niger Delta, because we don't have the similar objective. So now it has been defeated now, because everybody is having it. And there's also minority under minority. Even under Northwest now, we have Wamako, we have Ganduje children becoming the head of that commission. Others are arguing that why should it be them? So for me, even the regional something is uncalled for, because we have states. Why not manage state directly? Let them tell you your problem. But we are creating another bureaucratic bottleneck where some people will be disadvantaged, some people will be also disadvantaged. So we must look at it objectively. In my own mind, if you wake me up and ask which state deserve another state more, I would say it's your state. And because of the population, because of the land mass, everything have reasons. And from Kogi State, I'm not saying Kogi deserve, but I'm saying Oyo State deserve, because I saw the population. Kogi, I think we know ourselves, but even though Kogi is proposing 3, we are proposing Oku, we are proposing Confluence State, we are proposing is it Okura or Okura State. You can see, this is what we need to look at, and we should do it in an objective manner. Another thing we should also look at, I think Akwa Ibom and is it Cross River are also looking at Obolo State. Now my own problem there is that they will not be fighting for natural resources, because that Obolo they have be the one that the natural resources in. So that's the means that you come to me, I'll come to you, this one will go to you, it will become another agitation. So in politics, or in democracy rather, agitation will continue, but the leadership will have to work with objectivity.
Alright, the leadership will have to work with objectivity, because agitation, whether you like it or not, will continue. But then, sometimes you'll be tempted to ask questions like, who are even the people proposing the states? Alright, because a lot of people, if you know what people are saying, I was passing somewhere, and the people discussing about the states are not even people that are schooled or educated or anything, but they were seriously against it. What they were simply saying is, how good has the states already existing been managed already, that they are talking about the creation of other states. But is it possible for the proposal to just be thrown aside like that? Because whether you like it or not, there might be some people in the house who would want to support this.
Definitely. And as I said, it's much more politically motivated, because if you look at the conditionalities to even propose, it was so humongous. I was thinking people will not meet it up before I know people have been able to. There's a way you have to draft it, and they were able to. But I think Nigeria situation now is not about population, it's not about states. If you look at the state of California, very big. The more they big, the more they make more money. But Nigeria want to shrink because we want to have the political opportunity. We don't have the business opportunity there, because when you have population sometimes, it's come with a lot of a benefit. The state like Kano is enjoying population, because when we are sharing anything, it's bad. When we are talking about tax reform, that's part of the argument. That it means like Kano, you must consider population in sharing tax. Do you see that? So it's another opportunity. So but if we are undermining that because we want our power, we want our say, we want our own state. Look at the governor Delta. What's his name? His name is mouthful. Look at the senator that actually decamped to APC. What's his name? He decamped because he also wanted.
He wanted a state.
I forgot the name of that. The state he actually wanted.
I called the state. And
he also said that's he said he want a state, and I'm sure the government is negating it. He also said the government is not bringing development to his state, so that's why he's decamping. You could see a lot of things happening. So if that is part of his reason, and Ned Nwoko was part of the first person that agitated for states, I recall, and the state was also mentioned like that. So it doesn't come as just like that. There are people behind those things. It doesn't easy for a poor man looking for who to survive to think of an extra state. It takes about people that have political power to actually ask for it.
Alright, it takes people who are actually looking for this. But then some people are saying, even though the existing states already, some of the stakeholders are already smiling and some are not smiling. The issue of local government autonomy, because some persons are thinking this thing is becoming lucrative, and like you said, political undertone interest and all of that playing out. And the CBN, remember, they have asked for 2 years audited account from the local governments, all right, to have things straight before they actually be able, to pay the money straight to the local government council. Is that, and someone said, well, there is, the way they have the accountant general, there's always an auditor, even at the local government council. Because I'm saying this because the creation of states and even the existing ones come with a whole lot. Because we're talking about how good these ones existing have been maintained and handled. So now, do you see a possibility of all the local government councils in Nigeria presenting, there's a word I want to use, is as spotless 2-year audited accounts?
I think it's uncalled for, if you ask me, because the government has not been giving them money directly. So they should rather go to state and state. Please give us statement of account and audited report of the local government.
Government should be in trouble.
That's how it should be, because government actually collect the money and share it. In fact, they tell you that. So for me, I think they should allow the government to get this benefit. Tell them onward that as you are disbursing, I said going to have disbursed. They said to start in January. This is February. So I said to have disbursed that money so that those people will start working and you start holding them accountable. EFCC is also there for them. Tell them that if you expend the money in an abnormal way, you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted. So I think it's as simple. But for you to see, they should bring an auditor. We want them to go and fabricate, and that's what we end up doing.
But as it is, they've been funding the relationship between federal government and the council. So why are they skipping where they were sending money to?
I think we urge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu alongside the CBN governor to review that. Except you don't want to fund them. If you say if you insist they will go and fabricate something for you, just give them another condition that as you are starting now, we want you to be transparent as much as possible, and also encourage NGOs to start looking at it as they're getting money. The local NGO that are looking at the monitoring. Do you use the money for? In fact, it's even difficult in local government for you to via the money in local government. It's difficult. People are seeing it. I remember being in Okonjo Iweala when they are bringing out money to any state, they put it in the national dailies, and by the time they put the national dailies,
Why do they even stop doing that?
people go and look at the breakdown and see they will following up. You follow health, you follow education, you follow road infrastructure, you follow this. By the time we all follow those things, they find it difficult to actually via the money or use the money for another thing. I think that's what government should do, not telling them now that they should go and do audited account. Where were you before? When did you ask for that last? Why is it now? Because
and why not from the state?
It should be from the state. Yes.
But I think you said something very vital. They should publish whatever it is that is going to the state governors, the senators, the allocations, what is being meant for the constituency and all of that. It should be in the paper so that the people can do a follow-up. Anybody that's not doing well can be recalled back. As a matter of fact, a very big thank you to you, Dr. Aliyu Ilias, for being part of this first conversation. The time is already going very fast, but that the conversation is so intense and informative and educative, I couldn't stop it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll come on your way with the second conversation. What do you think is going to be the outcome of the governorship polls in Anambra State? INEC, how much trust do Nigerians have in INEC? Because time in, time out, they will tell you we've learned from the previous experience and something better will be coming up. Now, the governorship poll in Anambra State will be the next discussion, and INEC saying they are strategizing to make sure there is no vote buying. Do stay with us. We'll return for more conversations after this break.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This
is Global Morning.
Welcome back from the first conversation now to the second conversation, where we're looking at INEC saying they are strategizing to tackle vote buying in the Anambra governorship election. That's the governorship poll. And joining us for the conversation, our guest is a political analyst and, of course, a development expert in the person of Jide Ojo. It's good to have you join us on the program this morning. Queen and I are saying good morning to you.
Good morning, Ramsey. Good morning, Queen. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Good morning, Mr. Jide. It's a pleasure to have you.
Same here.
All right, so let's go into the conversation proper right now. As a matter of fact, INEC again. You know, when Nigerians hear about INEC, so many things come to the mind. You know, after the elections in Edo State, what INEC said is that they've learned their lessons and everything in Ondo State was going to go smoothly. It didn't go the way they said it. And now again, they are saying they want to tackle vote buying. And one of the issues, as far as electioneering is concerned in Nigeria, is vote buying, which constitutes an unfair election. What do you think about INEC's statement?
Well, INEC is on point to want to fight or to tackle the incidence of vote buying. It has been a menace from the time of First Republic, when people put money in bread to buy votes, and it has been with us all through from First to Second Republic to Third Republic. If you go back in time, part of the reason why the June 12, 1993 presidential election was because of political corruption, vote buying of delegates and at the polls. And so it's been with us for a very, very long time. And that is why INEC now is soliciting the assistance and support of multiple stakeholders like the anti-corruption agencies to help it to curb this menace. Unfortunately, it has refused, and it has proven to be a stubborn state that has not been removed by any bleach. I was in Edo during the last governorship election. I observed the election in Benin, and I know that there were reported cases of vote buying. In Ondo, it was widely reported as well. But do you blame INEC for vote buying? The answer is no. INEC can do the much it can, but INEC has no power to make arrests, neither does they have power to investigate. The only power that the law has given to INEC is prosecutorial power, which means after the police and anti-corruption agencies may have made their arrest and investigated, they will pass on the case file to INEC for prosecution. And that's why INEC itself has said this is unwieldy, and it's not something that it wants to continue to take on as a responsibility, which is why over the years, INEC has been in support of having an electoral offences commission and tribunal established, which will divest it of this issue of having to tackle the menace of vote buying. There are two clear sections of the Electoral Act 2022 that forbid vote buying. I think Section 121 and Section 127, if my memory serves me right. But despite the fact that the law has criminalized vote buying and indeed voter inducement, we know that this has been an ugly phenomenon and has become very intractable in our political landscape. The last election, there were reported cases that during the Ondo governorship election, there were reported cases of party agents paying as much as 20,000 naira for a vote. Some are paying less, some are paying about that sum. But I think for us to really deal with the phenomenon of vote buying, you need to look at the root cause. In a country where there is rising cost of living, where many of those who have gone to school have no job and have no means of survival, any amount, as little as it may be, will be a welcome gift. So I've been involved in voter education over the years for more than 2 decades. But despite that, we have embarked on massive voter education, public outreaches, and all of that. People will tell you, look, you are just speaking English. We have to survive. Water must find its level. Some of these politicians, once we vote for them and they get into office, they don't remember us. So this is an opportunity for us to have something from them. And the phenomenon of vote buying does not even start at the polls. Recall that I was at the INEC headquarters last week Thursday when it hosted meeting of civil society with the commission. And what the INEC chairman did say was that this menace of vote buying starts from the party primaries. And Ramsey and Queen, you were alive and in this country when, ahead of 2023, some delegates who converged in Abuja to elect their presidential candidate, some of them became overnight millionaires. There are those who claim that they were paid in dollars. There are those who claim that they got millions from the prospective aspirants for the position of the president while they were vying for presidential tickets, particularly of the dominant parties. And here I'm talking of APC and PDP. This was very well reported. If you do a Google check, you will see how people allege that the presidential aspirants under the PDP and APC actually induced the delegates. And some of them became over 9 million. In fact, there was a delegate that came from Kaduna who had to go back and give part of what he got in Abuja to his constituents to make them happy. So the issue of vote buying is not just an election day event. It's something that starts right from when the parties are having their primaries and through to the time of campaigns and then on the election day. And you ask, what is the implication of this? It is very grave. It is grave because political corruption is festered by this act of vote buying. A candidate who buys his way into office would never be interested in any developmental agenda. The primary purpose will be for him to recoup his investment. And I must say, Ramsey and Queen, that Section 88 of the Electoral Act 2022 have pegged the ceiling of expenditure for candidates from the presidential candidates to the councillorship candidate. And from 1 billion naira in the 2010 Electoral Act, we now have the expenditure ceiling put at 5 billion for presidential candidate. Then that of governorship has now been put at 1 billion. And then senator, I think 80, senator is about 100 million. And then the House of Reps, 50 million down the line. Now, you ask yourself, if somebody will spend 5 billion to become president of Nigeria, and he does not, he's not a businessman, he's not known to have done any serious business in his life, how does he intend to raise that money? That was the story of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who in 2015 said the 27.5 million naira ceiling that was put for that APC charged for nomination fee, he couldn't afford it and had to take a bank overdraft to be able to buy the nomination form. Now, somebody that could not buy a nomination form of 27.5 million, how did he bankroll his election when the amount as at then was 1 billion? It then means that some party stalwarts put down the resources for him to contest. And those who put down this money are not running a charity organization. When he became president, they have to be settled. Some of them became ministers, some became government contractors, but nothing, there is no free lunch in Freetown. So that is the deleterious part of vote buying, that when you go for the broke, you go borrow money from banks, you borrow money from godfathers, or a godfather bankrolls your election in the name of just winning at all costs. Definitely, those who bankroll your election are going to make a demand on you for favors, and you will not object or reject their proposal, because they will remind you how much they contributed to your political campaigns. So these are part of the reasons why it is important for the political class to abide by the provision of the law, but not so deaf as those who will not hear. Many of them knows this. They know that the law has forbidden act of political corruption or vote buying, but they still go ahead to do it because they know that if they win, their party will give them cover and that they will never get prosecuted. Of course, it's always the hirelings, the agents that get caught. I recall that during the Ondo governorship election, one of the agents was arrested by DSS with about 2 bags full of currencies, which he meant to be used for vote buying. But since that time, nobody has had anything. The identity of the guy was not even revealed. They just say he's an agent. We saw how the DSS forced him to open his car boot, and the 2 sack full of money was retrieved, and it was whisked away. I bet you if that guy is working for the ruling party, it will have been released quietly, because the law also permits the Attorney General of the state or Attorney General of the Federation to file what is called nolle prosecute, to say that the state is no longer interested in prosecuting a particular offender. And this is why the culture of impunity reigns in terms of vote buying.
Very much. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, many thanks for your contribution so far. But INEC has had a history, like of implementing measures to ensure that there's no vote buying during elections, but the result has been varied. But this time around, what do you think that INEC can do to correct this, looking at the 1 month notice that has been given to prevent vote buying in Anambra?
There is nothing that INEC can do that it has not done. It has solicited the support of the anti-corruption agencies, and they have pledged their support to the agency. But what you need to understand, Queen, is that this vote buying are done nicodemously. They are done covertly. They are usually not done in the open. The one I experienced some time ago, around 2018 in Ekiti State, what they were doing is that you vote and they will give you a tally, and then you go and collect your money far outside of the precinct of the polling booth. In some other cases, people are asked to write down their names and their account numbers, and the money is transferred to them later. Now, how do you now prove that the money that was transferred was meant to buy votes? Because you have to establish a nexus between somebody putting down his name and account details and then a certain amount of money being wired to that account. So those who are engaging in vote buying are also being very creative. And that's why I said INEC is helpless in this. Because as I pointed out earlier, INEC is at a receiving end, is more concerned about organizing credible elections. When poll officials get to their polling station, they don't start searching people's pocket to know whether they have money on them or not. The law does not even permit them to do that. So they concentrate on conduct of elections. So the actual vote buying is done covertly and many a time done outside of the precinct of the polling booth or polling stations. So how then do you want INEC to go after those who are engaging in vote buying? And in any event, I told you that vote buying starts from party primaries. At the party primaries, INEC is not the one that conduct party primaries. It is done by the political parties themselves. And the so-called vote buying that takes place at the party primaries are done outside of the convention ground, outside of the places where the Congress or the party primaries will hold. We have heard stories of delegates being bussed in and lodged in an hotel, and then they are settled within the hotel premises before they are bussed to the venue of the party primary. So how then do you, how does INEC feature in that? INEC is only asked to be invited, and that INEC should be given 21 days notice of invitation. And INEC's own in that party primary is just to go and observe and document in a report what they observe. So INEC is really strong in this fight against vote buying. But it's just that the commission doesn't want to stand akimbo and say, well, what can I do? That's why he is soliciting the support of the police authorities, the ICPCs of this world, the EFCCs of this world, and other anti-corruption agencies, that they should help with the combating the menace. But it's
question now, because as it is right now, it's like INEC have done what they can do based on what you have said. But constitutionally, is there punishment for vote buying constitutionally now? Because one is to establish the fact that the votes were really bought. Then the second question, because I'm asking two questions in one because of our time. The second question is this: what effort, apart from collaborating with the security agencies, the anti-graft agencies and all that, what about sensitizing the people and INEC's relationship with the people, the electorate? Do you think if they have a good relationship, issues like that can be reported to INEC, but then do we have that relationship between INEC and the electorate?
The answer is yes. Let me start from whether there are punishments for vote buying. There are a plethora of punishments. Like I said, if you go to section 121 and 127 of the Electoral Act 2022, you see copious provisions for vote buying. And in fact, I can tell you for free that the punishment is 500,000 naira fine or 12 months imprisonment or both. Do you get that? 500,000 naira fine or 12 months imprisonment or both. So if you have a copy of the Electoral Act, go to section 121, between 121 and 123, then section 127. You see the copious provision against vote buying, voter inducement, and all of that. So the answer is, even if you arrest these people, you have to prove. He who alleges must prove, and it's a criminal offense. So he who alleges must prove, and to prove, becomes a equivalent. Let me give you an illustration, Ramsey. When anti-corruption agencies or police arrest people for any electoral offenses, whether it's vote buying or any other thing, usually the person who is the IPO, investigating police officer, or those who made the arrest may not be from that state where the arrest is made. They are deployed. So after the election, they document and then they go back to their station. When these cases are charged to court, you must lead evidence. There must be witnesses willing to come forward to say, yes, he tried to induce me, he tried to bribe me, and I took or I didn't take. But situations where the IPO had already gone or been transferred out of the state, how do you get him to come to court, to come and stand as witness, or to come and stand by the exhibit, or to lay to be cross-examined? So this is why in many instances those who are caught for either electoral offenses or vote buying usually get away, because there are usually nobody coming forward to testify that they actually were engaged in those acts of illegality. But aside from that, even if you press ahead and you say you want to prosecute, who will fund the logistics of the witnesses in the event that the witnesses are no longer in that state? Who will pay for their transport, their lodging, and their feeding? And our court system, the judge will say the sitting will be next Thursday. You get there on Thursday, they say, oh, they have gone for judges' conference, or the judge is not feeling well, so has asked that a new date be determined. And then the worst part of it, Ramsey and Queen, is that unlike election petition, the electoral offenses generally does not have time limit. It's only election petition that have time limit of 6 months at the court of first instance, that's at the tribunal, then 60 days at the court of appeal, and 60 days at the Supreme Court. That's if it is a governorship election petition. But if it's presidential election petition, it starts from the court of appeal, where 180 days is the maximum days you spend, and then 60 days at the Supreme Court. If it is other layers of election, that's like senatorial, House of Reps, State House of Assembly, it starts from the tribunal, election tribunal, 180 days, then ends at the court of appeal, 60 days. But unlike this kind of election petition that has time limits and which is cast in stone, for electoral offenses, it can go ad infinitum. It could even take 10 years to do. So it also became situations where the prosecutor will become weary, no funding for witnesses to appear, and in some instances, the witnesses can be bought off or can be scared off, because we have seen witnesses who come forward and say that they were threatened by those who they want to testify against or their families, and so they have to back off. And in the final analysis, when there are no witnesses, no exhibit, the court will say lack of diligent prosecution and strike out the case. Or in some cases, the court will just...
Incidentally, thank you, Mr. Jideojo. That's how much we can take for today. Our time is up, but we definitely hope that we would have you join us again, and we would also have ample times free of technicality so that we can discuss some of these pressing issues. Thank you for your time with us today.
It's my pleasure, Queen and Ramsey. Happy Valentine's Day.
And happy Valentine's Day. So do have a nice day ahead.
And you too. Keep safe.
Well, this is where we draw the curtains on Global Morning here today. It's been an interesting ride from the newspaper review down to our topical discussions of national interest. And we will be seeing you again next time, myself and the rest of the Global Morning crew. For now, don't forget to follow us across all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. Odi will be here to bring you sport update by